Former President Jacob Zuma's son, Duduzane Zuma, has taken the stand in his culpable homicide trial in the Randburg Magistrates Court. Zuma expressed his sympathy to the families affected by the accident that brought him to the dock. Now, one person died in February 2014's crash when his car hit a minibus taxi. Duduzane Zuma told the country he was on his way home in Saxonwold from Fourways when the crash occurred. He said he was initially traveling at 120 kilometers per hour when he got onto the highway. Now, the former president's son claims he reduced his speed when it started raining. He could, however, tell what speed he was driving at moments before the fatal crash. He gave details building up to the point where his car spun as he held onto the steering wheel until it eventually stopped. The case has now been postponed to tomorrow. Let's get more on this case now, and I'm joined by our reporter Sibongile Mkani, who has been following the court proceedings. Good afternoon to you, Sibongile. Of course, a court case that has dragged out for quite some time now. The latest with regards to this, yes, suspended until tomorrow. But have we learned any further as to how exactly things will pan out and where this case is going?
Currently, the case is at an advanced stage. We know that it is the defense case. They had earlier applied for the case to be dismissed, saying that there is no evidence that Zuma was reckless, and the court then disagreed with them and said that there is a case to answer. Yeah. We know that one witness testified for the state earlier on, saying that Duduzane was speeding on the day. He took the stand today and he testified that it was raining on the day and he was coming from Fourways going home to Saxonwold, and when he hit the highway he was driving at 120, but he slowed down because the rain was raining. Well, it was raining heavily, and he thinks that he must have been driving between 90 and 100 during the rain. He was asked by Yusuf Ababa, the state prosecutor, when has he been driving, and he said for 18 years, and he was asked what are the precautionary measures that a driver takes, what is expected of a driver, and he did say that is to slow down. And he was asked if the speed he was traveling at, that 90, 100, did he think that it was a reasonable speed to drive at in those wet conditions? He agreed. He said yes, it was a reasonable speed that he was driving at, considering that it was
in a residential area.
No, he was on the highway.
Okay.
He had veered off from Fourways and joined the highway. Remember, the accident, the crash happened at Greyston Drive.
Yes.
So that's where it happened, and he was saying that at that time there were not a lot of cars. He was driving on the far right hand side lane, which is the fast lane.
Considered the fast lane.
Yes, which is considered the fast lane. Yes, and he was saying that he was driving at 90, between 90 and 100. So he was saying it was fairly safe and it was fairly reasonable because there weren't a lot of cars.
Yeah. The scary thing to this, though, is that it continues to be a case where delays and delays and delays. Have you heard any word with the families and what their thoughts have been thus far?
Well, from the beginning, the case started with an inquest in 2014, just after the crash, and then the inquest found that Zuma was liable for the crash.
Sure.
And then the NPA said they were not going to prosecute him. And then the case was brought back in court when AfriForum said they were going to execute a private prosecution. Then the NPA turned around and said, no, we will prosecute. Those were the delays. But right now, today's delay was unforeseen and unfortunate for everyone because there was a power outage at the courthouse at Randburg Magistrates Court, and that outage interfered with the stenographer's recording machine. That is why then during the trial, when he was testifying, it kept switching off and it wouldn't record some of the evidence. That's why then they stopped today and saying that tomorrow morning at 8:30 they will continue with the trial.
Some of these things certainly need to be considered essential services maybe, and a look further at that. When one takes a look at how far this case has gone and where Duduzane Zuma necessarily stands with regards to that trial, have you spoken to experts and perhaps found out just how far this case could go, and whether the families or Duduzane himself certainly have a case for themselves here? Who stands to really be able to stand firm and attest to what has happened?
Well, it hasn't been determined what speed he was driving at, which would amount to reckless driving.
So is the manufacturer of the vehicle unable to also help in some way in that regard?
What they've come to talk about is that he was driving a Porsche, and a Porsche has this special feature that can prevent such accidents when it comes through water and aqua planning. aquaplan feature, which Duduzane claims he did not know about, even though he had bought the car since 2011. He said he was not aware about it was what the prosecutor was asking him about, that you've driven this car in these wet conditions since 2011. You didn't know that it had this feature. He said no, he didn't know, but the experts have we are waiting for a testimony for the expert for Duduzane. So we'll hear what he will say in defense of Duduzane.
Yeah. Has the car been sold?
We don't know what happened to the car.
Interesting, actually. You know, some weird people might want to put that on auction. It would be insensitive, I know, but still considering it is one aspect of the case, which will be quite interesting. Sibongile Mkani, thank you so much for the time there, giving us the latest with regards to Duduzane Zuma standing, of course, in court. That case now postponed till tomorrow due to technical difficulties. So we'll continue to catch up on the story for you then.